mergers and acquisitions among Japanese oil companies. Taiwan has said that it is considering purchasing 4 high-tech Aegis-type warships from the United States and joining a U.S.-led theater missile defense system. A spokesman for Taiwan's defense ministry made the remark on Tuesday when asked about a report that Taiwan wanted to buy the advanced U.S. destroyers. The high-tech warships are designed to counter ballistic missiles. The Aegis radar, described as especially effective against airborne threats, can track hundreds of targets at a time. China was swift to respond on Tuesday, warning the United States against selling the warships to Taiwan. Foreign Ministry spokesman Cheng Guoquan told a news briefing in Beijing that China seriously opposes the United States selling any weapons to Taiwan. Japan's finance ministry says the country has the world's largest foreign currency reserves for the 61st consecutive month in September. The ministry said the total value of Japan's reserves was $212.1 billion at the end of September. China has the second largest reserves with $14.2 billion at the end of August. Japan's reserves rose to $214.68 billion at the end of November. This was an increase of $700 million from the previous month and the 5th consecutive monthly increase. Now, here is a frequency notice. You are listening to Radio Japan, broadcasting on 11.705 megahertz, being relayed to eastern part of North America via Sackville, Canada. This transmission is also relayed to Europe via Southern England on 6.155 and 6.180 megahertz, and to Central Africa via Central Indian Country on 9.665 megahertz. Listeners in Asia can also hear this transmission until 15 hours UTC on 11.815 and 13.650 megahertz. Now, other news. German Chancellor Gerhard Schröder and French President Jacques Chirac agreed on Tuesday that curbing unemployment should be Europe's top priority. The two leaders and the French Prime Minister Lionel Jospin made the remark at the next conference at the end of a two-day summit in Potsdam outside Berlin. The German and the French leaders said that the Jobs Creation Pact is needed to offset years of government austerity measures to prepare Europe for the single currency, the euro, which will be launched on January 1st, 1999. They also called for tighter international scrutiny of the financial world, including highly speculative hedge funds, as a way to counter damaging swings in the markets. However, the two sides made no progress in seeking to cut Germany's EU budget payments, while France refused to accept the reductions in farm subsidies. The collapsed long-term credit bank of Japan has reversed an earlier decision and decided not to waive its loans to two affiliated financial firms. The LTCB made the announcement in the management streamlining plan it submitted to the government under the financial reconstruction law. The plan says that the LTCB will withdraw its earlier decision to write off loans to Nippon Landic and NED. It also says that the bank will close its overseas branches and downsize its operations. The LTCB was nationalized in October after its share price collapsed. The Chinese government has given high marks to President Jian's means a visit to Japan, saying the visit has achieved significant results and will benefit the development of relations with Japan. This official view was given by Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Teng Guoquan at the news conference on Tuesday. He said, China notes and welcomes the fact that Japan clearly expressed a deep remorse for its past aggression against China in a joint declaration and apologized during the summit. The spokesman says that Japan renewed its solemn promise on Taiwan. And he said this indicates that there are clear and sufficient guiding principles with Japan and China on the issue. The spokesman said China believes that President Jian's visit will lead the two countries to sound and stable relations for the 21st century. But the Chinese English newspaper, the China Daily, criticized Japan for failing to apologize for its aggression in the joint declaration. In its editorial, the paper said that the Japanese government is doing nothing to prevent rightist political forces from gaining influence. The editorial indicates that some Chinese government officials are not pleased with the outcome of President Jian's visit to Japan. In Seoul, about 500 people took to the streets on Tuesday, calling for the abolition of the country's 50-year-old anti-communist national security law. The protesters included members of human rights and religious groups, as well as lawyers and parents of students who have been arrested under the law. The demonstrators, who were dressed in black, put an effigy representing the law into a coffin and carried it past the headquarters of the ruling and opposition parties. The national security law, which was enacted in December 1948, is designed to outlaw forces that are sympathetic towards North Korea and socialism. But under the rule of military government in Seoul in South Korea, the law was also used as a means of quelling democratic movements. The law has been revised 7 times, and the provision banning its abuse has been added. But human rights groups argue that subversive activities can be suppressed through regular criminal law. Also in South Korea, media enterprise officials and workers have protested the repeal of a law restricting foreign movies. 700 directors, actors, and other industry workers lined in Central Seoul on Tuesday, raising banners bearing messages such as "The Day the South Korean Movie Died." Up to now, all South Korean theaters have been required to show South Korean movies at least 146 days per year. But the law is to be abolished, following an agreement with the United States to open the South Korean market, excluding agriculture, to foreign investment. The South Korean government also plans to lift the total ban on Japanese movies later this week. Prior to the demonstration, officials said at the news conference that unless the South Korean movie industry receives government protection, Japanese films should not be aired. Prime Minister Keizo Obuchi has emphasized his desire to launch a coalition government between his Liberal Democratic Party and the opposition Liberal Party. At the Hu-Law House session on Tuesday, Mr. Obuchi said he and Liberal Party leader Ichiro Ozawa agreed to form a coalition to serve the nation and the public and to conduct their politics in a responsible manner. He said he hopes to see the two parties strive for a speedy and efficient politics. Mr. Obuchi also defended last year's consumption tax increase to 5% as essential and responding to the trend of fewer children and an aging population in Japan. He said it would be difficult to cut the tax rate in view of tax revenues and fiscal policies. Mr. Ochi then touched on bills related to the new Japan-U.S. Defense Cooperation Guidelines. He said the bills are necessary to create more efficient defense cooperation with the United States. Tokyo prosecutors say that the arrested chairman of Fuji Heavy Industries, Isamu Kawai, was directly involved in bribing a lawmaker to win business contracts. Mr. Kawai allegedly bribed former parliamentary vice defense minister Yoichiro Nakajima with 5 million yen, or about $40,000 in October 1996. Prosecutors arrested Mr. Kawai on Tuesday on charges of bribing Mr. Nakajima to win defense agency contracts for US-1A Marine rescue planes. Finally, let's take a look at the top stories of this hour. The world's second and fourth largest oil companies, Exxon Corporation and Mobil Corporation, announced on Tuesday that they have officially agreed to merge. The announcement of a merger between Exxon and Mobil is expected to lead to a similar move by their affiliated companies in Japan. And Taiwan has said it is considering purchasing 4 high-tech Aegis-type warships from the United States and joining the U.S.-led theater missile defense system. And that's the news from Radio Japan. I'm Takahito Kobayashi. Next follows Radio Japan for 4 minutes. So please stay tuned.